Salutations, Space Cadets, and thank you so much for landing back on my channel. For today's mission, I have the new Before You Craft for the November season Suicide Squad in DC Dual Force. So we have a few disclaimers to go about before we head into the list. I just wanted to say that this is my personal opinion. If you have your own, hey, feel free to share it down in the comment section down below. I'm not like the world's greatest player ever, and if you're a returning person to the channel, then you already know how I make my decks. So if you like them and you find them interesting, then this can be helpful for you. If you're someone new to the channel or new to the game, hopefully I can provide just a bit of insight. But it's not like I'm the greatest player to ever live. There's some other people that are way better than me in other YouTube channels, so maybe you can seek their counsel as well. But these are just my humble opinions, as well as this is just a list for generally what I think is good or not good in the game. But the number one thing in any game that you ever play, and you should, sometimes, especially with competitive games, people really forget this, but the number one priority is to have fun. You should be getting fun out of your games. When it gets too much and you're getting too competitive and you're losing that fun and that joy that you had with the original game, you may need to step back and realize that. So if I'm saying, oh, this card is like garbage or something, there's no garble cards that I'm going to put on here right now. But if there was a card that was garble and you're like, wait, I'm really interested in that card, get the card, man. That will bring you joy and excitement to your life, and that's what's most important. All right, don't forget that. And let me know if I forgot any cards in the comment section down below. I almost nearly forgot the General Zod Recruit and some other things. And I think there's some cards that I didn't evaluate in the previous season, or they came out this month. I'm kind of sidetracked, but they're going to review them today in this video. And also, things might seem like, oh, why isn't this like a must buy compared to this, or something is like a little bit lower than you think it should be. So with the rarity system in the game, I feel like some things are more highly valued. Like if something's like a pretty decent card, or something that you would almost consider must buy, but you're like, oh, I don't know, this is a super rare though, I would put that a little bit lower sometimes, instead of like if it was like a super good super rare, then I'd be like, oh, that's a must buy 100%. But if it's like an iffy card that you don't really know, I'm gonna rate it a little bit lower, even though it's actually pretty decent card. But since it's a super rare, that's a lot more crafting investments for you to have. If something's a rare but it's not as good as people would think, I would still have it a little bit higher because it's a rare and you're more likely to have those crafting materials to use from. So that's why the ratings might be a little bit skewed one way or the other, for at least for my thing. And if you're interested in these, a lot of these are from the season pass. Everything's from the season pass, other than some of the promo cards. Some of them are free right now, but if you're watching this video in the future, they will be turning into gold tiers and you'll have to pay for them eventually. But the subscription service is the highest value thing in a DC Dual Force, I would say. So if you're ever thinking of spending even a little bit of money in the game, about $10, that is a lot to some. So but if you were going to spend any money, this would be what you spend in DC Dual Force to get all these cards. And if you're still on the fence, I mean, this is already about the third or fourth season in, you get all those cards retroactively. So if you're getting the subscription now, you're getting last month's, in the previous months, in the previous months, and you get all those comics unlocked. The only thing that you really miss out on are the free packs that you would have earned through those previous months, and the cosmetic things you get from the daily login rewards, because you're not logging in to get those rewards each day. So those are the only things you're missing out on. But everything else, like the cards and stuff in the comics, which I feel like are probably the most important ones, you're not going to miss out on those if you get the subscription. And these are actually, this is probably the hardest one that I've tried to evaluate. Last but not least, this is the last thing we're going to talk about before we get into it. This one's the hardest one to talk about because there was some rank season changes. So now a lot of people could really fiddle around and test with a lot of these new cards because they were so busy trying to get to the highest rank at the time, so they can get back to where they were, because a lot of people were in World's Finest, the highest rank in the game currently. But now that they changed it to where it basically takes double the time, people didn't really want to take the plunge to experiment with various other cards because it's just going to take longer. You can't really play unranked because it's kind of dead right now until we get more of a player base and stuff like that. So I won't be able to give you like a full 100%. Some of this is just going to be pure feeling. Some of it's going to be a little bit based off of actual what I actually believe in, what I've seen on ladder, stuff like that. But it's mostly going to be a feelings thing, so do also keep that in mind. But without further ado, no more stalling, and let's just get right into it. So first and foremost, we are going to start with the leader. This season we got General Zod. Very good leader, I would say. People are a little bit underrated, but I think he's really nice. I don't think he's like you need to have him or you're not going to have any success in the game. You could probably hide out just a little bit before you get in it. I would say heavily consider, but I would pretty much put every leader almost in a must buy, because you might as well just own all the leaders here. But if you're like starting the game right off the bat, then you might want to hold off on Zod just a little bit. But you can't. It's not like you can pull the General Zod in a regular pack. So this would be pretty much, you know, between the leaders that we have gotten so far, it's only been Batman Who Laughs and General Zod, and then, you know, soon, literally like probably tomorrow, we're gonna get Black Manta. And I would say out of the 2 leaders that we've gotten so far, and maybe even Black Manta, just prejudging him, I would say Zod is probably the best new leader that we've gotten so far. So I would definitely put that as your top priority of new leaders. Then we get into the actual Suicide Squad set, and then lastly we're gonna start off with not start off, but end off with the promos. So we're going to get into Rick Flag. It's kind of hard to evaluate these individually one by one because they're kind of like a whole package. But at least with Rick Flag, he's kind of a standout because he's the only one added to tactics. The rest were added into anarchy and tyranny. So when we're going with Rick Flag, I would say he is more of a niche choice. I like him most in the Hunter deck, because that's pretty much the only type of deck you can really splash them in, because unless you're playing, I mean, I guess you can play Suicide Squad, Tactics, Tyranny with it. I guess you can do Tactics, Anarchy with it, but you kind of get the most value on the Suicide Squad by doing Anarchy, Tyranny. Seems kind of what it was modeled after. But I like him a lot in the Hunter's deck. It's kind of hard though, because you kind of need like the perfect storm to happen. Welcome to Task Force X, which changes all of your cards in your deck into the Suicide Squad members and gives them plus attack, meaning that you can pretty much Rick Flag and turn any of your hunters hidden post Welcome to Task Force X, but you have to draw it first, and it comes at a tempo loss because you have to play, you know, Welcome to Task Force X, especially if you're playing it and you're going second. So your opponent is already going to have probably a unit on the board, and then you're going to have to play Welcome to Task Force X to get your stuff started, and then they're already going to have a big lead as they play more and more units to the board. So it's kind of rough, and it gets kind of hard. So it's really just, if you get a turn 1, then you're probably going to be really good into the rest of the game. But if you get it to your turn, if you're starting second, it's just going to be real tough. But I like Rick Flag for all it's worth, especially if you bounce him over and over again and make your things hidden over and over again, including Peacemaker and Cheetah. Then you can get kind of out of control. Then we have a Welcome to Task Force X. This one is a must-buy for the archetype. I guess I should have explained a lot of the tiers here, but as I used to have another tier called Wait to Pull, but obviously you can't pull any of these cards. So you know, here the must buy is just like, obviously, you know, must buy. The must buy for archetype is just, you must get this if you want to play this certain archetype. I would say heavily considered is, you know, if you're thinking about it, you should really consider getting this. It's not like you need to have this in order to survive, but it's like it really helps your game plan. Consider it just like you want to tier under that. Niche is this card only works really in this one scenario, but it's still good to have it. But it's only kind of just good for this one thing. Your last few decent crafts is, you know, you only have you almost completed the whole collection, and there's still some garbage cards there, but these are like in between the really good cards and the garbage cards, and you just want to be like, oh, these are your last few decent crafts. And Garbo, self-explanatory. But yeah, Welcome to Task Force X, really good for, you know, it lets you bridge out of just having Suicide Squad members and turning everything into a member. It really makes your deck like actually function. But like I said earlier, talking about Rick Flag, you have to draw it, and if you draw it late game, it's a little bit too late for that. So it would be really nice if it was free. If it was free, and even if you drew it late game, then it would still really help. But the fact that it's bronze, and if you draw it late, it's just almost useless. Then it's hard to, you know, really go with it. But I still think it's a must buy for if you're trying to play Suicide Squad specifically. Then we have Harley Quinn. Now this, I'm gonna be honest here, I didn't really get to play a lot with Harley Quinn, so I'm more so going off what I think it would be. And I think Harley Quinn might be a must buy for the archetype. Now Harley Quinn also has the Arkham Inmate tag, so if you're doing that fusion between Arkham Inmates and Suicide Squad, it already meets the conditions without having to play Welcome to Task Force X, which I feel like is very good. And then and then in the future, if you end up doing that, if you're doing like an Arkham Suicide Squad list, and you actually do pull the Welcome to Task Force X, that means you can start playing things like Jailbreak, and it will pull those Arkham / Suicide Squad members out of your deck, and then Harley will slowly but surely build up and stuff like that. And then if you happen to be playing the Tactics version, then you can Rick Flag it, and Harley Quinn will most likely live an additional turn. And pretty much with Welcome to Task Force X, all your Suicide members, pretty much every Suicide member that exists currently will have more than 5 attacks, so you'll never have to get cullinged. And then if you're playing like the Tyranny version, then you can culling without fear of destroying your own board, which is nice. Then we have Killer Croc. Now this one has been bugged for the most part, so it's kind of hard to say, but I would say, like, if it worked properly, I would put it probably under heavily considered. I put it a little bit higher than normal. You might be like, this is a little bit like under. You might put this in consider or below, but since it's a rare, I would say it's more under the heavily considered side. The same thing with Harley Quinn. You might be like another heavily considered one, but I put it under the must buy. Things kind of get bumped up a tier if it's below a super rare, in my opinion. So, but yeah, once we get more and more Suicide Squad support, I feel like Killer Croc just gets better and better as a result. So I feel like it's not a super risky craft to do, and especially if it worked properly, and the package starts actually popping off. You got Lexes every turn. That means Killer Croc's going off every turn. If you're doing ritual sacrifices and things like that, your Killer Croc's going on, you can end up doing a lot of big damage in the end. Especially if you combine it with a card that we're going to talk about in the later on in this video, Starro, then you're going to have a lot of fodder to get rid of. And especially if Suicide Squad ever becomes popular, Starro becomes even better because you have a bunch of squad members you're going to steal from their deck. It gets kind of crazy. But yeah, I feel like Killer Croc has potential, so I'll leave it here for now. Then we have Bloodsport. Now, Bloodsport, I feel like, is just straight up a must-buy for archetype. For one, it's a common card, so it's just like the easiest craft you can do in the game currently. So, and it has a good effect. So, if like I said, if Suicide Squad gets more support in the future, or if your deck actually ends up working, you got your Welcome to Task Force X, or you got your Amanda Wallers going, then Bloodsport's doing 2 damage to both leaders. By every KO on your Suicide Squad members, which can really get out of control, especially if you're trying to do like a Joker deck or something like that. You got a bunch of firepower going, then even just 1 firepower, that's 3 damage to both leaders, so you're doing 6 damage total just off of one of your things getting KO'd. And then if you have like something like Welcome to Task Force X, like I'm talking about, like the whole deck kind of revolves around a little bit, then you can have like things like Brainiac drones, easy to sacrifice off, and all these other parting shot things you can really consider. It can get kind of out of control real fast. Now, one that I will kind of underrate here, I would put King Shark under your last few decent crafts. Now, this is a super rare, like I was mentioning earlier. I'm gonna it's not so good that you need to have it, so I'm gonna put this under your last few decent crafts. And especially since you can't pull it, you might as well craft all the season pass, not season pass, but I guess subscription cards eventually, just to have, because you're not going to be able to pull them otherwise. That's why I'll save this for last. It's kind of, you think like it's easy to get damage on things so King Shark can pull it off, but if you're not playing really tactics, then it's kind of hard to just have like a little bit of damage taken. Usually the units just die. They're not really damaged a lot if you're not playing against tactics or something like that. And it has like in Suicide's best when it's with Tyranny for the most part. I mean, the added benefit is you can Rick Flag your King Shark. I've done that, and that one gets pretty nice, but it has 6 health, so it trading easily, it gets real rough. If it was kind of similar to Andrew Bennett, like it gets healed up once you deal damage, then that would be really nice. If it just had that effect, like not on leaders, but like almost like the reverse, like it has on recruits instead, then King Shark will be way better. But I feel like currently it will just die too easily when you're trying to trade into these damaged units and to get the most out of them. So that's why I'm going to put them at their last few decent crafts. Then we have Cranial Explosive. Once again, it's a common card, so it's really easy to justify crafting, as well as a free card. Free cards are just nice for the most part, and they just recently buffed it to where now your Suicide Squad members get +2 everywhere. So that means your cards on the board, your hand, things that you get off Amanda Waller. So it gets kind of crazy. So Crayon Explosive is just like a easy go-to, and you don't even have to sacrifice a Suicide Squad member themselves. You can sacrifice any of your own recruits in order to get the effect off. If it was locked into a Suicide Squad member specifically, then it would be like, yeah, okay, maybe heavily considered, but I probably still would have put it in must buy. But it's a lot better that it's not locked into that, because I can easily see a card like this being locked into that type of thing. Then we have Amanda Waller. I would put this under heavily considered. I know that might be like, what? Doesn't this all tie in to the Suicide Squad? It is, but once again, it is a super rare. So if you're not dedicated to playing Suicide Squad, then you might not want to buy Amanda Waller's. It might not be a must buy. But I guess I could really see it being must buy for the archetype, obviously. But I don't know, the fact that it's super rare, it makes me put it down just a little bit, and I feel like you can play Suicide Squad without Amanda Waller type of situation. So, it's up to you. I can easily see it being a must-buy for the archetype, but I'm going to slide it into heavily considered personally for me. It's kind of rough. It's like one of those things where like you're playing Lois in the shield package deck, and you draw like one half of your deck, and you don't draw the other part. Especially since there's not a ton of Suicide Squad members right now. You're drawing all of the Suicide Squad members, but you're not drawing Amanda Waller, or you're drawing Amanda Waller, but you're drawing the other half of your deck that isn't Suicide Squad. So if you had the Welcome to Task Force X actually pop off, then she's crazy. But you also can't control which ones you're getting. So if you're like, oh man, I'm kind of bricky, I'm getting all these silver and gold Suicide Squad members. A lot of the Suicide Squad members are silver or above. So you're just like, well, I can't really do anything with these cards that are getting generated in my hand for a while, and you're just like, well, this is just rough. What am I supposed to do? But at least you get some value off of your things being KO'd and things are getting replaced. So that's nice, but like I said, that's why I'm putting it under heavily considered for now, but I can easily see it being a must-buy. Now, the one that is truly a must-buy, like this should be your #1 priority if you're thinking of crafting anything that was released in this past month, I would craft Starro. Starro is a very good card. I would craft that above a lot of the cards that you can pull, in the base set. I would this one's like, I don't know, in the upper echelons of cards. Not only does it, if you're playing like the Unending Ruin type stuff that's coming out really relatively soon, probably tomorrow, as the posting of this video, you're thinning their deck, you're grabbing a lot of their cool early game cards. A lot of them, they're your Gene Choi's, you're getting their Steves, you're getting their Hugo Stranges, some Pedros, some all these other crazy, bronze. You're usually going to be playing good cards in their deck, so you're likely to hit good, and it fills your entire board. It can be sacrifice fodder for Lex or your ritual sacrifices. You can Truth and Justice the board. Like, Starro is just a crazy crack card, and it has 10 health. Like, even then, it's hard to remove. And so, like, it could just be just a giant blocker for any of your leaders. Like, that's just crazy, dude. like imagine like how Metron was prior. It was like, what, like 8 health or something, and barely anyone played it. And then, or maybe it had 10 health the whole time, but like it got gained attack. Like, just having a big booty and then a little bit of attack, it's good. But like the value off of Starro is so much. It has so much more than potential there. So Starro's crazy. All right. But now that we rated the entire Suicide Squad set, now we're going to move into the promo cards. And first and foremost, we're going to start with Giving Thanks. Now, for Giving Thanks, I have this under your last few decent crafts. I am a believer of it. I don't think it's garbage, like some people might think. But I have faith in Giving Thanks. I have the copium, okay? So Giving Thanks, gives all leaders +2 and charges them. Now, this is nice. You just need to, it's like one of those cards where you just need to know when to play it. You don't just immediately play it turn 1 and then you end up charging your opponent's 2 charged leaders. You need to know, or you need to use it when you absolutely need it, type of situation. Like, their board is getting filled, and I'm like, oh man, this will charge them, but I can potentially swing back the board at least temporarily, which are like your Aquamans or your Supermans, like one charge away. You can clear this pesky unit that your opponent's been having, and stuff like that. Or like what I'm going to be playing in the Black Adam deck that you saw featured in the post that they made. You're gonna be able to get that last bit. Like a lot of times when I was playing that deck, you get to like 9 and you're like, oh dang, I wish I just had one more charge, and you don't want to spend your resource doing it. At least this is a free card. You can get a little extra health to save you if you're just about to die, because this is a permanent max health damage or health. So this would become your new highest life total. So if you're, Black Adam now got buffed to a 24, so now it becomes a 26, which is nice as well. And combination with a future promo card we're going to see, like you giving your opponent extra health might not even matter too much if you're playing something like the Witching Hour. All right, so that's why I'm going to have it under, but I'm going to have it on your last few decent crafts, because I can see where that card's just straight up copium. But it's a rare, so this might just be under consider really, but you could probably hold off on this card and you won't really miss it that much. But it's like something that if you like were able to pull it and you did pull it, you wouldn't mind having. You wouldn't be like, oh man, this took a slot over something else. I mean, you probably would if it's something like Commissioner Gordon or Appetite for Conquest, obviously, or Hellblaze. But in this sense, you wouldn't be like devastated that you pulled this instead of like something else. Now we have a fitting mentor. I would put this under heavily considered. I could definitely see this under must buy as well, either for the archetype or just must buy in general. But sometimes you're kind of giving up tempo, but then you also get a shield unit, which is kind of nice. But then if you want to put this in the shield package, there's still the added risk that you might hit a shield unit and get really no value other than you drawing it out of your deck, so you don't draw it later, which is nice. But there's just sometimes that could happen. That's like almost where it works best, but also sometimes it doesn't work the best. If it works where it can't hit a card that already had shield, then it would be peak. Like I have no questions asked, put that in there. But I don't think you really want to put it in every single might deck you ever play. It's nice, but that's why I'm saying you should heavily consider it. But it's a rare, so it's not the hardest craft in the world either. Then we're going to get into Sin in the Clowns. Now now Star was my #1 pick in order to craft right off the bat. And I would say my #2 pick, if I had to choose from this past month, I would say Sin in the Clowns. Yeah, it's also a must buy. It doesn't matter. It's not archetype specific. You can play this on almost every single Anarchy deck you would ever play. Whether it's aggro or you're a little bit more laid back or you're focusing on something, this is just almost either a board clear or a pushing clear. You can do you can use it to sacrifice things. They even technically nerfed the card a little bit because it used to be free, and they had this nice little combo with Ra's al Ghul where you can just summon them, kill them off with Ra's al Ghul. While you have Ra's al Ghul on there, it comes back to your hand. You can just clear your opponent. It was like a weird way of clearing your opponent's entire board. That wasn't really necessarily good, but it got pretty degenerate, and they were like, yeah, let's not have that happen. So Sin and Clowns is like one of the top cards that you can get right now. This is like one of the best rares in the game currently, in my opinion. I would say it's a really good one. But now when we get to not as good rares, we get into Captain Boomerang. I will put this in your last few decent crafts here. Captain Boomerang is nice. Even in the Hunter deck, you're still thinking like, do I really want to play this? It's kind of hard. If Boomerang, I would take it where if Boomerang was like free, and even if it did less damage, even if it did like 1 damage, but it was free instead, then I would be like, oh yeah, Captain Boomerang. I would even consider that a staple if it was like, even if it was like 1 damage free card to leaders only. Because it comes back to your hand, it's a boomerang. So, but in this current state, 2/2. You've got to pay the bronze to play him and pay the bronze each turn if you want to get use out of your boomerang. It's kind of hard. I wish he was better. He feels like he's like right there, but he just doesn't quite make it. And I wouldn't like be jumping at the hip trying to get to try to get Captain Boomerang. I would hold off on him. He would be your last few decent crafts. Then we get into General Zod, the recruit version. Now I'm going to put this under consider. Now, the reason why I'm not being like heavy considered or a must-buy type of situation for General Zod recruit is it's not only because it's a super rare, so you got to be kind of choosy on what you're crafting there, but also because it's in a faction that is their golds are highly contested. Like Tyranny has like the best gold in the game, you know, on average. So it's kind of hard because he's a decent to good, you know, to maybe even great, you know, card. It's just like, but the Tyranny ones are just so much better. You got your appetites. I mean, Lildama got nerfed, but it's still Lildama. You got Dark Side. You got all these other cards in there, and it's just like, dang it, I can't find a way to slot this in sometimes. So, but it is a nice effect. It does have shield as well, 7/7. Type of things like that, and it, you know, it exhausts, or actually it doesn't even exhaust. If it exhausted, that would be a lot better. But and you can't really and it's not like the -3/-3 through the entire lane he's in. It's only one singular recruit. If it did let you do it like the entire row that he's in, or lane that he's in, then he would be a lot better, I would think. Like in the case of, like, even if you're playing on the left and right where a leader would be blocking it, you might, if you end up killing leader and then they place a unit there where the leader used to be, then that would also, those scenarios would also be nice if it hit the whole row. You know, if you want to put it in the middle to hit 2 units, then that would have been real nice. But the fact that it only targets 1, I'm gonna underrate it just a tad bit. Now we get into the last card for the day and the video. This one's actually kind of the hardest one to evaluate because it is actually the latest card, which means I had the least amount of time to play it. But so I'm just going to evaluate it based off of just general feeling as well, like I did previously, and that is the Witching Hour. Now I'm going to put the Witching Hour under heavily consider. I could see it being a lot better, like a must-buy type of situation, but I can also see it being lower. It's really hard to evaluate, and it's also, you know, I don't know if it's niche. It could also be niche, you know, like you might only want to be putting this in an Ivy type deck or a Cyborg type deck. It's pretty versatile. You can use it to heal yourself or something like that, where it gets its highest value are on one of the leaders, like you're probably gonna die before it's ever relevant, like such as Doomsday. You know, well, I guess Doomsday doesn't have the highest defense anymore. Now that it got 2 Black Adam, but you know, Doomsday you get a lot of value off of hitting it because it has a lot of HP. Superman, you get a lot of value because it has a lot of HP, but you're not fighting Superman a ton, but it did just get buffed, so maybe you are fighting it a little bit more than you're thinking. Then, you know, you have Black Adam, which can be pretty nice. Seeing how Black Adam's going to get a lot better in this new season. So there's also that to consider. And like I said previously, it does heal you up. So if you're getting hit with what's it called, Morgan Le Fay's, or you're getting Cyborg Ivy'd and your max health is really low thanks to Ivy vines, then this can also heal you back up to 13. So, but it's also a super rare, so there's also that. And then you're not really gaining tempo on the board, but you're also playing in Tyranny, so you can probably control the board, so you can probably live. That's why it's like one of those heavily consider. I'm heavily considering how powerful the Witching Hour could be. So I would definitely be under the heavily considered category. I could even see consider, but like I said, you know, your super rares, you gotta use them sparingly. And if you're really looking for a card and you haven't pulled it yet, while you're on that grind to get a full collection, I don't know how high up you're gonna put the Witching Hour on your list. I feel like it doesn't tie together any specific type of strategy. It's more of like a support card that helps you out in those things. So it's not really something that you need for any specific type of deck, but it's helpful when you have it type of situation, if you get what I mean. But if you agree with these opinions, or you don't disagree, you don't agree, let me know in the comment section down below. What would you change about my list? Do you agree with the list? I would really love to know. But if you like the video, make sure you like it, and look forward to more of these each and every month as we rate all the cards that are featured in the previous month. But yeah, and if you can help a brother out, we're trying to get to monetization. About 50% of you guys aren't subscribed to the channel, so if you can subscribe to the channel, I will greatly appreciate that. We're getting there. We're like a quarter of the way there. I would love to do this for a living, and I hope you guys will allow me to do so. And if you are interested in any of my wacky opinions on live, you can check out the Twitch channel at twitch.tv/AgentXSpacely, or you can check out here on this channel, Agent X Cardly. We stream Monday through Thursday, sometimes Friday, 11 a.m. PST if you're interested, whatever your platform of choice is. And you can submit your decks there, and they might even get featured on this channel one day. But hey, that's going to be all from me. I'll be blasting off, and I'll see you soon, Space Cadets.